Good morning. Good morning. I can start seeing all the lovely folks popping on in. How is everybody doing? We got the chat room open. We've got Brayden here from BTA. Send us a little
Hello.
message to let us know that the internet's still working and where it is that you're from. Halifax. Good morning, Gary. That is awesome.
Cool.
Are you here? Are you coffee? I am working on my coffee. If you see me taking a quick side sip here.
I'm just always equally tired. I can't drink coffee. It just messes with me. So just water. I'm just equally tired all the time.
The life of a father.
Yep.
Equally tired. I had to start caffeinating about an hour ago. Otherwise, it would have been absolutely useless.
You wouldn't have made it.
I am not what they would say as a morning person. But let's jump in and see how we do this fine morning. So
Awesome.
first off, it's great to see everybody. We are going to be talking about building the top tech stack for a roofing company that is trying to scale to $10 million and beyond. And so what we're going to be focusing on is we're going to be talking about mistakes that we don't want you to make, that we hear about all the time, pitfalls, problems that people run into in the technology space, advice in terms of what do we see as kind of your best approach to grow. And we've got Brayden Russell here. We're going to do intros here in 2 seconds. He's with Breakthrough Academy, and we are just thrilled to have you here, Brayden. I mean, you're one of those guys who's one of the top coaches for roofing contractors, and you're not coming from one of us tech companies, so you don't have the biases that we do. So I love hearing your thoughts, man.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to dive in.
Dude, that's great. So let's start walking through it a little bit. Today, we are going to be, we're at the end of this, there's going to be an opportunity to download this template, which is going to help you understand. This is a template from BTA, help you understand what types of technology it is that you need, what it is that you should be thinking about, and how to start prioritizing those things. So Breakthrough Academy, if you haven't heard of them, they're operations specialists. They're some of the best in the business at helping people systematize their growth as a contractor. They work with hundreds of contractors. They've got rave reviews. You're going to get this for free at the end of it, and we'll have a little bit more on that a little bit later on. Bit about myself. My name's Brandon. I lead the operations, sales, and marketing at SumoQuote. We're a tech company here in Calgary, Canada. If you hear train booming behind us, that's just our office here right on the train line in Calgary. So in the software space, operations is really tech integrations and automations for running our own business. So that's just a big part of my job. In addition, I was in the contracting space. I was a coach. I owned painting companies in the college pro space for about 10 years. And I'm a very active fly fisherman and hunter. So we're going to have some time to start talking about, about any questions you guys have about tech stacks and things like that towards the end. But if you want to talk about fly fishing, I will stay on extra long to be able to talk about those things. That is absolutely my vice. Brayden, if you don't mind, just let us give a bit of an intro on yourself, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brandon. I'm Brayden with Breakthrough Academy. Been with Breakthrough Academy for about 5 years now. So I coach pretty much solely roofing companies. I coach usually around 30 at a time. So I've been here for 5 years. I've coached easily over 70 roofing companies in the time that I've been here. They range anywhere from kind of like 1.5-ish million on the smaller end to, I think my largest guy's going for about 35 this year. So kind of in that range, I'd say average between 5 and 10, 5 and 12 would be kind of average kind of owners that I work with. A little bit about my background. So before that, I owned a home services company for 5 years, sold that before I joined BTA. And before that, I did door-to-door sales for pest control down in Denver, Colorado. So I kind of, not that all roofing companies do, but the door-to-door part that some insurance guys do, I can kind of speak to as well. So I've got a lot of background in sales and business, and I'm a father of two, Port Coquitlam, just outside of Vancouver here. I love rock climbing and jiu-jitsu. So a little bit about me.
Dude, that is fantastic. Well, it is exciting to have you here. Yeah, really exciting to have you here. So what we're going to talk about today, here's some of the outcomes. One, we want you to leave this chat having a clear understanding of what we are saying are the 4 main categories of technology to consider for your roofing business. There's a lot of tech. We're going to try to focus on what are the core 4, as we call it, that you need to focus on to be able to grow. Second, we're going to talk about some pitfalls that Brayden has experienced in his coaching days, things that we run into all the time from a software company, and just some things that you should look out for. We're going to talk about how to best onboard your team when implementing tech. Brayden has done this with a pile of roofing companies, helping them create structures and organizations so that the software tools that their teams are using actually get implemented. So we're going to have Brayden talk about that for a while. And then we're going to talk about some actual examples of tech stacks suitable for different sizes of business. And we're going to talk a little bit about why we think that you should consider these types of technology at different sizes of businesses if you're trying to reach that next level and you're trying to push towards that 10 mil goal there. Cool? And of course, if you've got any questions as we get going, please throw it in the chat. We've got SumoQuote team members, Breakthrough Academy team members who are going to be gathering those, saving them for the end for Q&A. So our agenda today, we're going to start on some pain points, start talking about some of the challenges that bring people to these conversations. Maybe you're one of those roofing guys who is bumping into some challenges with your tech. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to open up a little bit of some advice in terms of how is it that you should think about building a roofing tech stack. So we're going to talk about those 4 core pieces of tech to consider, some pitfalls. Brayden, again, is going to jump in on onboarding and talk about how to implement it with your team effectively. And then we're going to talk about some of those examples. And following a little bit of that, kind of the meat of the conversation, we're going to give you guys some next steps in terms of how to get started, how to connect with great coaches like Brayden and keep the conversation moving forward. All right, and then of course Q&A, fishing Q&A after that. But to kick us off, first thing, what is your biggest challenge that your business is experiencing right now with tech? Throw it in the chat. Please start letting us know what are some things that you guys are running into.
Absolutely.
Following up with homeowners. Very, very interesting. And I'm assuming automating that. How is it you can stay connected with homeowners? How is it you can kind of, as you scale, maintain a larger client list? Totally. That is.
Just had that conversation yesterday with a member.
Yeah. Oh man, I had a conversation yesterday with a guy who he had 3 CRMs all implemented at the same time, and they were using each of them for something different. And he couldn't convince his staff to be like, hey, use them all. And I was like, wow, there's your problem, doctor. So that certainly see that coming up.
That's crazy.
Yeah, tech stack doesn't communicate well with each other. Oh my gosh. Totally. We see that all the time. We're going to talk a little bit more about that today. Brayden, what are you hearing in some of the conversations this week that what are some of the pain points that your team's bumping into?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've hit on a couple of them already, like things not communicating properly, it not doing what people thought it was going to do or what they might have been sold it was going to do. So, onboarding people are kind of the change management part, which, I'll speak to a little bit later in more detail, like how to identify the problem and how to get people actually on board with using it. So, I mean, I could talk about this for hours. It's just like, there's a ton to it.
Well, conveniently, our next topic is pain points. Let's talk about some of those things. We'll we've kind of pulled together some of the common problems that we've heard, and some of the challenges that people are running into. And let's start there. Let's start talking about what's the problem that that most people experience when it comes to setting up the tech in their company. So first off, the one thing that I'd say I see the most is that the software that people are using has limitations. So frequently we see people who are expecting any tech tool to do absolutely everything. And let me tell you, that doesn't exist. There just isn't a piece of software, especially in the roofing and contractor space, that does everything. Anybody who says that it does, it means that they do everything maybe a little bit okay. But if you're wanting a tool that does everything remarkably well, it just doesn't exist. So as a result, that is why this conversation of a tech stack is even a thing. We see people who want a measurement tool, and then they want it to be able to be a sales proposal tool. I'm sorry, they probably don't do both well. They come talking to SumoQuote and they're wondering why it is that we don't do accounting as good as QuickBooks. Well, we're not an accounting tool. And they want their accounting software to actually, work as their CRM, and it doesn't. And then they want their CRM to have a beautiful photo app like Company Cam, and it doesn't have that. The reality of it is that, some tech just, doesn't connect with things, and no tech does everything. So that seems to be a bit of the rub. Brayden, I'm not sure if you got any comments on that, but this is the big one that I run into all the time.
Totally. I equate this to like people like getting on an airplane or taking like, some like, prescribed drug from their doctor. Like most people don't know how these things actually work. So the expectation of what they can and should do is limitless, because they don't know what's actually going on behind the scenes. So if you don't, if you're not building the tech yourself, which most people are not, you have no idea what's actually going on behind the scenes, and then the expectations are just impossible. So
yeah, totally. Next one that we see is really on these onboarding challenges. Brayden, I'll pass this one to you.
Yeah, so onboarding, I'll be touching on this a little bit more, actually a lot more later, but a lot of the issues that happen with onboarding happen before onboarding, identifying the actual problem and getting your team involved in identifying the problem. The onboarding itself, which is getting people to actually use it, and then the continuation of it afterwards. So there's a lot here with the onboarding. We have like multiple sessions in Breakthrough Academy that I teach on this, but just as a general thought, onboarding people into technology or really any system at all is usually about 10 times more complicated than most people think it is. There's a ton that happens even before the onboarding itself, and then after onboarding as well. So there's a lot here.
Totally. And one of my favorite things that you mentioned just as we were prepping for this is that the best software tool is the one that you use, the one that your team uses. And so I kind of keep that in the back of my head when we're talking about this. Third pain point that we see is that technology requires manual customization. So, as SumoQuote specifically, we see people come to be able to help them sell more jobs, make better quotes, standardize their pricing, and really start standardizing their entire sales function. But what I always see is that they've never solved this problem in their business. So people show up and we say, first question, do you have a price list? And they're immediately like, no. And so the problem is that technology creating systems to be able to run parts of your company requires that manual setup. And most people have never solved that problem before. They were the only sales guy, they were the owner of the company, so they never solved those problems. So then that feels overwhelming. And so, implementing your CRM, for instance, before you've even defined your workflow as an organization is really challenging.
100%. That second piece I see all the time. I get people that are like, oh yeah, I'm going to change CRMs. And I'm like, okay, awesome. What's your workflow? Like, what do you mean workflow? I'm like, how does your business function? And it's a simple question, but a lot of people can't answer it in enough detail to even switch CRMs anyways. So yeah, I see this all the time.
Totally. Next one that we've seen is sunk costs. I've got a couple comments on this a little bit later on, but people get very committed to systems that they've spent a pile of money on already. And it's challenging because we see people very committed to a broken system because they spent the money on a mistake. And that is a big pain point that we see people running into. So some costs on that. Brayden, I'm not sure if you got any comments on this.
Yeah, this it's an emotional thing. When people spend money on something that they've researched, they don't want to be wrong. So oftentimes they just stick with it because the pain of being wrong is too great, and it just ends up costing them more in the future. So yeah, this is quite common.
Yeah, totally. And then lastly, what we see as a pain point, kind of on setting this up, is that just kind of the reality of that is, if you refuse to learn new systems as a contractor, if you're refusing to adopt new tools, you're going to continue to fall behind and you're going to continue to shrink. And we see that all the time, with people just trying to set up something brand new, and they get intimidated by it. And it's like, look, I get it, but we oftentimes say, like, if you're showing up with SumoQuote to a homeowner's kitchen table, it's like you're showing up, with a gun to a fight, where if somebody's showing up with pen and paper, they're showing up with a knife. And it's like, trust me, if you're the guy with the pen and paper and you're not modernizing your business, you're going to want to show up with a gun to a gunfight, not with a knife to a gunfight. Like, you're just going to be outclassed. And so we see that as being a problem that's oftentimes jumping in here. But anyhow, so let's keep jumping in terms of, okay, what do we do about this? So first, we're going to talk about 4 key steps for really building a top tech stack. And how is it that we actually start fixing these things? So first, what we're going to talk about is, let's see if we can narrow the scope of what it is that are all of the different types of technology and things that we can implement. And we're going to focus on first what we call the big 4. And that is, number 1, CRM tools; 2, measurement tools; 3, sales enablement tools; and 4, accounting tools. We're going to talk about these categories of software so that you can really focus on what's important. And I realize that somebody's gonna shout out in there saying, like, oh, you're forgetting about Company Cam. It's like, everyone loves Company Cam. We get that, but it's not one of these core pieces of technology that we're going to start on. So and you'll notice on the right hand side, as we just quickly zip through each of these categories of technology, that you'll see on the right hand side there's an episode of Contractor Evolution, which is BTA's podcast, that has specific podcasts talking about choosing a great CRM. And then the next one is going to be talking about sales, actual sales software. So Aaron, if you don't mind throwing those episodes on the side as we go through it, those are just additional reading resources. So let's hit through these quick. So first, your CRM is really your source of truth as a company. And this is one of those categories that you're going to need at some point. This is what stores your client information and all your interactions in one place. And this is what helps you just manage your projects in an organized way. Okay. Second up is a measurement tool. So you're going to need to have a measurement tool at some point, likely, because this is how you're going to speed up and get efficient, so that you're not hand measuring every single roof. And at a certain point, this is a key to make sure that you're being profitable. Lastly, this helps you price a little bit more accurately, because we all know bad pricing can really pull your business apart. Brayden, I'm not sure if you've got guys that you're talking to this week that are experiencing that, but any sort of thoughts on why measurement tools are, even just a little quip from your end of things?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked on this with a lot of guys over the years, and I think the simplest way I can put this is if your measurement is off or inconsistent, I'll say both because both of them are bad, high or low. Your quoting is inconsistent, high or low, and your profits will be inconsistent. So the largest issue with it is if you're off 10%, 5% every single time, high or low, it becomes very difficult to compete with people because you may be 10% over, 10% under, and you've really no idea what's going on. So the more accurate that you can have these things, the more intentional you can be with where you're pricing jobs, and the more intentional your profits come in. So it's really simple.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Super succinct. The third category of tech to consider is going to be sales enablement. So this is quoting and proposal tools. Us, SumoQuote, we're kind of fitting right into the space. And the reason for these tools being important is that you want to have an edge over your competitors. So we see a pile of businesses that are saying, look, like I'm in a really, really competitive market. What do I do to grow? Like I feel like I've hit this threshold of growth, so I got to start being cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And it's like, actually, you just got to level up your sales game. You got to level up with some of these amazing sales enablement tools. And then secondly, is you cannot scale unless you start standardizing your sales process. I run into business owners all the time that come and talk to me and they're like, yeah, we want to grow 2x, 3x, 4x. And I said, great. You know what that means? You need 2, 3, or 4 salespeople. And unless you can start creating some standardization in your sales process, you are stuck. That's the end of it. If it's the case that you are the only person who understands the pricing of your company, you're stuck. I can see that Aaron with BTA is putting up a podcast talking about some of SumoQuote's origin stories and how it is that that's kind of helped level up, our founding roofing company's sales in their business. Worth a listen. Totally awesome. So that's kind of the third one. Fourth, accounting. So quick context on this. Basically, gone are the days of double entry. You need to have a great accounting tool so that your accountant doesn't hate you. I'm not sure if anybody's been stuck with a bad tax bill, but I've experienced that. That's a terrible, terrible thing. And this is really what's giving you some visibility into profitability at the end of the year. There, Brayden, any quick comments on this?
It's essential. It's a must-have. You have to have good accounting technology so that you can run your business properly. You need to know what your profit margins are, ideally month by month, but at least quarter by quarter. Like it's just there's no way around it. It's very tough to run a business without knowing your numbers.
Yeah, heck yeah, awesome. So let's talk about some pitfalls that we see around this. So first off, pitfalls that we notice, and if you're experiencing this yourself, these are things that should be a red flag in your head in terms of things you need to be careful about. So first, what we see people doing a lot of CRM hopping, where this year they're with Job Nimbus. Next year they make a hop over to HubSpot. The year after, I made a mistake, I'm back to Job Nimbus. This back and forth is oftentimes a symptom of something a little bit bigger in terms of what sort of technology it is that you're using. Brayden, underutilizing the tools, do you mind kind of commenting on how you see this show up?
Yeah, so most people don't understand properly what the tools that they have currently even do. So this lack of knowledge and lack of understanding leads them to what you were talking about up top, whether it's the CRM or, anything else that they're using. They just start moving around before they even understand properly what their current tools do. So it's just what it is it's lazy, and you're kicking the problem down the road because the problem's actually internal. It's not the systems that you're using. It's actually an internal issue with the company. And you're just projecting your issue everywhere else, and every single piece of tech that you use is going to have the same issue.
Boom. Exactly. Yeah. And I love that because it's that problem of underutilizing it and not setting up your team to use it effectively, it follows you. It follows you to CRM number 2. It follows you here, there, and the other. Third one, unrealistic expectations of your needs. We see this all the time where people say, hey, we want to grow to 50 locations and we want to grow to this and this. And so then they actually build out a tech stack, which is way bigger than what it is that they need. So enough said about that. We can dig in a little bit more. And then lastly on here, implementing too many things at once. There's a couple little tidbits that Brayden and I added in terms of like, look, this is just common sense advice at this point. We're going to go a little deeper, but first, start with one tool at a time. I mean, we could probably have a tally. Like I could ask Brayden, like, how many pieces of softwares have you seen as most? And people be like, I've tried setting up 9 things simultaneously. It's like, this doesn't work. Okay. Second one, start with the lowest hanging fruit. If it's not a problem in your business now, or if your coach or somebody like that doesn't identify you need to fix this now, just don't get trapped by the shininess. Start working on what are those pain points. And the third one here is start with the most frustrating or the best ROI problem. Like, what is the thing that if you invest and fix this one problem in your business, you're going to make the most money? Start there. Stop doing all of these widespread ways of solutioning. Okay. So those are some pitfalls. If you're experiencing any of those, have a conversation and have a conversation with a coach, have a conversation with somebody who's been there before to start pulling you out of that. So next up, we're going to talk a little bit about onboarding tech successfully. Brayden's going to go into this. Brayden, I might just pass this straight over to you right now, if you don't mind, talking about what does it look like to onboard tech successfully with a team?
100%. So I touched on this before, and unfortunately we only have an hour on here, so I'll try to speak to it as much as I can. There's a lot to dig in here. I kind of like broke this up into like 3 kind of relatively simple areas, but the first part of onboarding technology successfully is actually way upstream of even what most people would consider onboarding. If you go to, say I'm the owner of the company and I go to implement a new CRM with my team, but they haven't identified that there's a problem with the CRM, they think the CRM's fine, how likely are they going to be excited that I have a new CRM for them to work 15 hours to learn how to use? Everyone's going to hate it. Right now, if I take the same team and I meet with them, for an hour or 2, and I start identifying the different problems with them, and they go, "Oh yeah, shoot, this kind of CRM is, has massive limitations." Now we've identified a problem. Now we can find a solution together as a team. And now when we go to implement it and onboard the team to the new technology, everyone's excited about the technology. So one of the biggest issues I see is actually way upstream. People come with a top-down approach and they go, "Hey guys, I found a new CRM," and the owner's done 30 hours of work into this and they're super excited, they're proud of it, and the whole team looks at them like they've got 10 heads and they're like, "What are you talking about? A new CRM? Oh my gosh, like why are you doing this to us?" Like it's like they've like ruined their life. So I think the problem starts upstream. Once you get that part right and the team is actually on board with identifying the problem, the solution is usually pretty simple to find, and then onboarding the technology into the team is welcomed with open arms because they have identified the problem. So,
heck yeah! Oh man, yeah. That seems like really, really good advice. And give me a sense of, you sent me this as kind of an example of like what onboarding looks like. Walk me through this. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this is a playbook I built for BTA for the roofing. I mean, I just want to share one quick screenshot here. There's hundreds of pages of documents in here. I've been building this for about 2 years now. It'll be launching next year for BTA. So there's a lot more in here, but I wanted to share really simply just what like a pre-arrival checklist might look like for a sales manager. And the reason why I wanted to just have this one little piece here is just to show, once you have a proper system in place, onboarding people into your company should look like this. There should be the desk has to be set up, the email and the email signature is organized. They have their own node in the organizational chart. They have building keys if they need it. They have their login and their password. They're onboarded into the technology that they're going to need. They have their laptop, their cell phone, right? So I don't have to go through the whole list, but the idea is that most people that we start coaching, at least at the beginning, they have none of this even thought about. They onboard a person to the company, and at best, they get like a general idea of what they're supposed to do. They don't get anything that looks like this. And this is really what high-level onboarding looks like, which includes onboarding them into technology. It would also include things like standard operating procedures. It would include things like employment agreements. But this would be one big piece of it, is having them learn the technology when they're onboarded into the company. And the same principles would be applied onboarding current employees onto new technology. It's the same idea, whether it's a new employee or a new technology, but you'd have to have a proper onboarding system that could look something like this. You'll see on the left part of the screen there's day one onboarding, there's week one onboarding, there's week two onboarding, goals for first 30 days. If this was live, I'd scroll down, there's goals for first 60 days, goals for first 90 days, and it's a 90-day onboarding plan. So every single role in the playbook has this full onboarding plan built out. This is just what good looks like, I guess, is what I wanted to show.
This is a little better than add user, send password.
A little more than that. A little more than that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, man. And tell us, I mean, this is an amazing case study of somebody that had started implementing a lot of these onboarding systems and a lot of these operational systems. Walk us through, like, what's the effect that you see on businesses?
Yeah, Marcel and Walter have been with BTA from about 2021, I think it is. Yeah, exactly. So 2020 was before BTA. And you can see right here, just really simply, I don't want to spend too much time because we have another one at least to go through, but you can see really easily here just kind of how this is laid out. The revenue growing a significant amount. Now, BTA isn't like a marketing company or anything like that, but because we're systemizing the internal functions of the company, it makes it easier for companies to grow. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. The biggest thing that I want all of you to focus on is the gross profit and the hours of work per week. So the gross profit went from 13% to 30.7%. That is a massive undertaking that comes directly from having better systems in place, better estimating, better onboarding. All of that kind of comes out in the gross profit. And then look at the hours worked. 80% on the tools, so 20% in the business, switched to 60% on the business. So you can see right here, they were able to hire more people internally. They were able to increase the gross profit margin and spend significantly more time working on the business instead of in the business. These people have an actual business now. Not to be rude, but back in 2020, they had a job. In 2022, they have a business that they actually own and run, which is what most people come into BTA looking for. So
that's awesome. I love that we've got the tools in place here. So that's a good kind of snapshot to be like, yeah, we might need to send out this deck afterwards. Yeah. So so I think that the obvious question, kind of as we're talking through, like, hey, this is what success looks like. This is how you onboard. Okay, what tech do we start with? And this is really where the rubber meets the road, I think. Two things. One, it depends on the size of the business that we're talking about. And two, does it connect to any tools that I'm already using? Okay. So I want you to keep those two things in mind, because when we're starting to say, what technology or what tech stack do I need to use? I oftentimes think of the old sage sales advice, which is, you can choose something that's good, fast, or cheap. And fast, I mean fast to set up and implement, and you get to pick two. If you guys have seen this at door-to-door sales, it's like, hey, do you want us to be good and cheap? Wow, we're not going to be fast. It's like, hey, do you want us to be good and fast? Wow, we're certainly not going to be cheap. There is, you get to have two of these three. Thanks, Aaron. And it applies to technology as well. That if it's the case that you want something that is really good and really, really cheap, man, you're probably gonna have to build it yourself, and you're probably going to end up having some crazy, if it's a sales proposal, you're going to be using Microsoft Word. Certainly not going to save a lot of time. It's going to be crazy cheap. and it might be fine, but it's absolutely going to cost a lot of time. So we'll dig into it a little bit further here. So this is a bit of a breakdown in terms of what I recommend is how to start planning for what technology do you need for a different stage of business. You'll notice on the left-hand side here that we've got small businesses, and I'm saying small roofing companies up to 500 grand. Okay. Medium businesses, I'm saying if you're in that $500,000 to $2 million range in annual revenue, or if you're trying to scale, if you're just trying to take from that 2 million and start pushing up to 10 million bucks and beyond, what are the tech tools that you need to think of? So here, this is where those 4 categories of tech that you should be thinking about are going to come into play. So first off, you'll see that we've got that CRM category, measurement tools, sales enablement, accounting. If you are a business that is small, you're just up to 500,000, for one, don't worry about a CRM yet, okay? You're probably only talking about 30 to 60 roofs a year, maybe 70 roofs a year, depending on the region that you're in. You can manage that on a spreadsheet, keep it cheap, okay? Measurement tool, don't worry about this yet at this stage. You can likely, hop up on the roof and measure a few roofs per week throughout the year. That's not a big deal. Again, keep it cheap. You're worrying about margins and worrying about trying to make sure you're keeping a profitable business. Sales enablement, which is quoting tools. And should you start thinking about tech tools for quoting, you should start thinking about it. But it's not that big of a deal. A lot of these businesses are handshake, handwritten quotes. You've got the time for it. It's not that big of a business. Don't stress out over that yet. Okay. Lastly, Brayden mentioned it, earlier on the accounting side, it is disastrous if you do not have an accounting system. So you got to have that. We'll on the next slide, we're actually going to talk about some recommended tools for each of these categories. But for now, make sure you've got accounting. As you level up in business, and you get over what I think is kind of that 100 customer mark, you really need a CRM. Okay. So at this stage, if you're in the $500,000 to $2 million mark, you got to have a CRM. And we're going to talk about a little bit about what we'd recommend and why. Measurement tool at this stage, you probably can still sell all of this with one really clutch salesperson. Maybe they're the owner. So at this point, you probably don't need a measurement tool, but you likely have to start thinking about it. At that point, we do say sales enablement. That's like a SumoQuote, some sort of quoting tool. You're going to absolutely need this, especially if you're looking to grow beyond. And it's because now you're starting to compete. You're starting to actually be a bit of a presence in the market, and you're needing to be able to stand out a little bit. Accounting, you're going to need that again. And then lastly, at this scaling phase, you'll notice that the one thing that we add on that we say is like, you're going to need this to grow is going to be that measurement tool. Like what Brayden was mentioning before, this is where watching your margins, making sure you're profitable, making sure that you've got accurate pricing comes in. So you need to start having the whole package at this stage. So if you're smaller than this, if you're kind of a little bit earlier, you turn a healthy blind eye for right now, and we'll keep going. All right. So next up, let's actually look at what are some recommended tools at these stages. I'm not going to spend a pile of time on this, but Brayden, do you have any comments on like why these? I kind of put some themes here saying like the theme of a small business, if you're in that 500,000 range, keep it cheap. If you're a medium business, you need to start planning ahead. You need to start thinking forward and not getting yourself stuck with a tool that's going to give you problems. And the third stage is you need to start thinking about standardization and automation. Yeah, I mean, Brayden, how do you separate this in your head? How does this kind of fit in your model?
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with what you're talking about here. I think a lot of this comes back to being aware mentally where you want to be as a business. Some people want to be a $1 to $2 million business, and that's fantastic. If you know that, then just organize your business around that. That's fantastic. It actually makes it easier because you don't have to worry about a lot of this stuff. If you know that you want to grow your business and you want to scale your business, then start thinking ahead. Doesn't mean you have to buy everything right away, but just be aware, start thinking about these things, start systemizing your business. I think a lot of it just comes back to the vision that you have for the business. Is the first thing that we always work on with people, is like, where do you want to take this? And I think once you know that, a lot of these answers start to become much easier.
Totally. And we are biased, but we're not ignorant that there is a pile more software tools in each of these categories. Okay. The reason why we've listed these is because these are ones that don't give people problems. Okay. Like, I saw BP Mara in the chat earlier saying, my tech doesn't talk to each other well. We know there's limitations in software. And if it's the case that people are really looking to scale to $10 million and beyond, and they want a robust tech stack that they are not going to outgrow. Okay. That's where we're saying for CRMs, man, there's tools like HubSpot, Salesforce. We see more and more companies looking at like Zoho and things like that. In this middle size, if they're in that $500K to $2 million range, like we see new CRMs like Rooflink showing up that are incredible. They're a really great tool. But if it's the case you're looking to grow beyond that, you know what? Rooflink is going to continue to become a better and better CRM. But we know that if it was the case that somebody said, hey, full stop, I need to build a tech company that's going to grow from 2 million to 10 to 50 million, we're like, okay, you got to think about HubSpot or Salesforce. Like they're not going to put you in a hole. Yeah, would love in the Q&A after, would love to talk more about this if this is helpful for us to dig a little bit deeper on why we think this way. But let's keep rolling. Okay, so a couple quick recaps on this. First, you've got to be aware of the limitations that tech has. No tech tool does everything. Okay. Second, if it's the case that any of those pitfalls sound like you should be cautious of that. And you should start thinking and having some conversations with trusted people who are not just trying to sell you on their tool, but who are trying to make sure that your business is solved well. The reason we have Breakthrough Academy on this webinar is because Breakthrough Academy is not affiliated with a software company. They are interested in you setting your business up for success. So highly recommend connecting with them. They coach hundreds of contractors. I mean, geez, I feel like this is going to be more of a Breakthrough Academy ad than it is going to be anything about SumoQuote. But really, I mean, I've seen the results of so many contractors that you guys have worked with, and I think it's just phenomenal. Third, find tech that enables quick and effective onboarding. There is a lot of tools that are so hard to set up that they start charging you a pile of money. They start costing you tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, I know that we recommended Salesforce. That might be the ultimate irony. Sometimes they charge like $100,000 to set up. I get that. But if you are in these stages, being able to start choosing tools that fit your stage and that you're not outgrown or that you're not on the other end of, that's really a really good key. Cool. And then build a good tech stack foundation that meets your business needs and allows you to scale. So hopefully this, as a bit of a starting model, at least starts pointing you in the right direction. Cool. So lastly, I want to talk a little bit about like why choosing the right tool is really important. And we've got one of our customers, Brad Samuels, who he's had some experiences where he's just chosen the wrong tool. So his quote is that he canceled his SumoQuote subscription in the fall because he had thought that his CRM could handle their sales proposals. That constant thinking, one tech tool can do absolutely everything. So after several months and $13,500 invested in setting up the CRM, they reactivated their SumoQuote subscription and canceled the CRM because they were trying to, again, use that CRM for a sales function. Their first proposal with SumoQuote was a $25,000 quote, and they sold it. Paid for their previous poor decision and paid for their SumoQuote subscription for a whole year in one deal. They're excited to be back. So this is frustrating because Brad's a friend. and he gave me permission to share this. But him and I had worked back and forth where he was trying to fit all of his problems into one tool, and it wasn't able to have the excellence that his scale of business needed for each of those categories. So with that, what is one thing that will help build a tech stack, to help scale your business? What's one thing that's a bit of a takeaway for you that you're seeing as we're talking through this? Maybe a pitfall to avoid, like Brad's. Maybe just a little nugget of how to think about these things. Let us know what's something that's been helpful so far in this conversation. And when we were putting things together for this webinar, one of the challenges, we're like, man, where do we stop? Like, we could talk about this topic for hours. I mean, Brayden does this all day. I do this all day. So how do we not go way too far into the weeds, and get way too granular and specific for different use cases? Cool. So one thing that'll help build a tech stack, we here BP's saying we use HubSpot. It works great as a CRM, integrates well with all of those things. Their biggest issue is they lost the functionality for real good generation of materials and work orders with costs. Holy smokes. Yes. And say SumoQuote has work order, material order built into it. However, it's not as robust as certain work order and material orders that some companies are like, I need the top of the line integrated with every supplier, Beacon, ABC, SRS, et cetera. Totally. That's a real challenge that you start running into. Yep. Totally. Cool. Anything else come up that's running in as issues or things that you're starting to notice? SumoQuote connect with QuickBooks Online? Yes, we absolutely have a great integration with QuickBooks. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. All right. I'll let those things keep rolling in as we kind of start talking about, okay, what next? Like, let's start building. Let's start talking about what are some ways that you can start moving these things forward in your business, and what are some good kind of first steps. So first off, Brayden, I'm going to transfer it over to you guys to talk a little bit about BTA, what you guys do, why it is that why you're even on this call recommending tech stacks for roofers.
Awesome, I appreciate it. I'll start just with our mission and our values really quickly, and then I'll be getting into a little bit more later. So our mission is transforming honest, hardworking contractors into well-balanced leaders and thriving entrepreneurs. You'll notice on one of the slides before, one of the KPIs that we were measuring is like, how many hours are they working in the business? It's something that we care about. We're constantly talking to our people about that. Our core values are to be real, genuinely care about people, and embrace the journey. So it's a little bit about who we are, kind of what makes up our DNA. Now, on the right side here, you talked before about how we coach, hundreds of companies. I think we're just over 600 companies now, which is wild to me. I've been here for a while now, so that's a massive feat. The revenue across all those is about $1.7 billion. That's with a B. So a lot of revenue is kind of not flowing through BTA. We're just kind of on the outside of it, but we see a lot of revenue moving around, through the companies that we coach. Some interesting key data points here is, so BTA, we systemize contracting companies so that they can grow. You'll kind of hear that on the podcast a lot. So this revenue growth, the 26%, it's not that we do that. We're not a marketing company. I talked about that before. But what a lot of companies find is that they're kind of at their ceiling. They can't grow anymore because the systems are falling apart. They can't get any higher. So once they get some systems underneath them, we notice oftentimes immediate growth, not because of directly what we've done, because the systems are now strong enough to be able to handle the growth that they should have had before. So 26% on average in the first 12 months. And then where we really shine is on the net profit. So this is where the systems really kind of help everything come together, whether that's getting like a sales enablement, helping them to measure things properly, helping them, to quote things properly, helping to understand what each person in the business is supposed to do. The net profit is really what we're most proud of, because that's what kind of shakes out at the very bottom. So you'll notice there 43% growth on average in the first 12 months. So a little bit of a snippet as to what we do, or the results of what we do. On the next slide, if you want to go ahead, is a little bit deeper into kind of the different sections that we go through. So I'll spend just a little bit of time on each of these just to tell you a little bit about what we do. There's a lot that we do. People are in BTA for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, even beyond sometimes. So there's a lot of stuff that we do. But just at a glance, we always start with the financial controls. You heard me talk earlier about how essential it is to have your accounting set up. So if you don't have that set up, the whole business is going to basically be very difficult to run. So financial controls, understanding what your gross profit is, net profit is, just understanding that at like a basic level. What are people supposed to do in your business? Right? So having structured roles, who's supposed to do what in your business? Do they know what they're supposed to do? Are they actually aware of it? Is it written down? Huge thing that we do kind of right away. Hiring funnels. If you were to give the job of hiring people and onboarding them into one person in your company, would they even know what to do? Is it just kind of a mishmash of different people doing different things? So hiring funnel, having things written down, job postings, these types of things. Training SOPs. So we know what people are supposed to do. Do they know how they're supposed to do it? So having SOPs written up, this is what I've been working on for the past couple of years for the roofing playbooks, is having SOPs written so that your salesman actually knows what a sales appointment looks like. Your call taker knows what a call sheet looks like. All these really basic things that take a long time to build out. We help with you. We help you with all that. Sales processes, and I mentioned this before. If your clients are coming through the sales process in a bumpy, disorganized way, the profits are going to be bumpy and disorganized at the end. So the more organized your sales process is, if the salesmen know what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it, it gives the production team significantly more organized jobs to produce. And that in turn will give you significantly more stable profits at the end of the day. You're not going to have these massive up and down years. Everything kind of comes through at that, 12 to 18% net profit if things are done well. And then strategic execution. This is quarterly reviews. This is reviewing everything and having your strategic plan set for the future that your entire team knows about. So a little bit about kind of what we do inside of BTA. There's obviously a lot more, but I don't have 6 hours to talk. So
yeah, totally.
And who we work with. So we work with contracting companies, all contracting companies, usually between 1 and 15 million. You'll see before that I work with people kind of well above that as well. So it's possible, but kind of our most common entrepreneurs we work with are kind of in that $1 to $15 million spot. You've been in business for 2 years or more, obviously, and that you want to grow. The whole point of being in BTA is to grow your business, expand, make your business better. So we want people that are growth minded coming in, because it takes a lot of work, and if people want that, then we're the right spot for them. We want to find people that are looking to have a systemized company, to develop as a leader. This is kind of where I come in as the coach, to challenge people and to connect them with other kind of high-level industry peers and to professionalize your industry. I hear the most common thing that I hear people want as their vision is to professionalize their industry. I hear that all the time in roofing. They're not proud of what people think of the roofing industry. And one of the big things they want to do is they want to change people's perception of the roofing industry. And, it's actually the most common thing I hear for people right away. I'm like, why are you here? I want to change what people think about us. I want to be that professional company that isn't just like a fly-by-night roofing company. So I hear that all the time. So a little bit about us, who we usually work with. And if you're interested, let us know.
Dude, that's awesome. We're going to have a bit of a shout out for you guys at the end here with kind of some next steps. Little bit of a touch on SumoQuote. What we do, we fit firmly as a technology company in that sales enablement space. So if people are trying to level up the sales and revenue, we see a pile of BTA companies using SumoQuote. If it's the case that we've got, say, people who are using SumoQuote who are like, man, I'm really struggling to put all the pieces together, we oftentimes refer them to Breakthrough Academy. I mean, we're not in competition. We're trying to be able to say, how is that we can level up businesses effectively? At SumoQuote, we really build beautiful quotes that help you on average, sell more upgrades, increase your close rate, and it really helps you speed up the amount of time that it takes to actually create quotes. I used to sit in front of customers' homes in my truck, handwriting proposals, and they take me 30, 40 minutes to handwrite a full quote. With SumoQuote, you can build quotes in a minute or two that look way better. They close up to 64% higher than what they previously were. You're going to sell bigger jobs, better jobs, and you won't lose out on those ones where somebody shows up with some stunning presentation, even though your price is more, more competitive, and they are, way better connected with you. It holds your professionalism in a way quicker way. And in addition, we allow you to connect with essentially any tool. So SumoQuote connects with all the leading contractor, CRMs, QuickBooks Online, Company Cam. We have more integrations with any measurement provider than any other roofing sales tool out there by far. And we are building more integrations every day. Through things like open APIs and Zapiers, you can literally connect with over 5,000 or 6,000 other pieces of technology. So there's your pitch on what we do. If you're trying to level up your sales, please talk to us. We're very good at it. We're really proud of what it is that we've built. And for those of us who come from the contracting industry, the reason I joined SumoQuote was because I was like, crap, I wish I had this as a contractor. One last little comment from one of our customers, JJ Beard. He's with Restoration Builders in Indiana. I saw that somebody said that they're from Indiana here in the chat. His first month with SumoQuote was their sales team's best sales month in their 13-year history. They doubled their sales projections, and they were on track to have their biggest year by far, and they did. They crushed it. So if it's the case you need a little bit of additional push, here is kind of a few next steps in terms of things that you can do. First, that template that we mentioned from BTA, which is how is it that you start understanding which software do you have, which software do you need, how do you start navigating this? BTA has got a great free template to help you work through that. So Aaron is going to put a link on the screen here shortly to be able to get that for free. Second, you can also request a call with SumoQuote to start a free trial. And if you want to take a look at our software, again, totally free to get started and start seeing what it is that SumoQuote's about. And in addition, if you're interested in booking a call with BTA to chat with some of their coaches, click this link right here to be able to fill out this form. You'll see in the chat there, it says trybta.com/tech. That is just kind of your one-stop shop that if you want to connect with anything that we're talking about today, that we can go a little bit further. Lastly, we are going to just pop over here and you'll see we did recommend a few podcasts, a few episodes from Breakthrough Academy's Contractor Evolution podcast. It is the top podcast right now for contractors trying to level up their businesses to 10 million and beyond. Highly recommend. Aaron will have you drop another link in the chat if you can. But hopefully this has been just a very helpful overview of how do you start thinking about tech? What do you need? What are the categories you need to start prioritizing at different stages of business? And what do you need to avoid for the time being? What's just going to be a bit of a distraction? So we are more than happy to stay on for some Q&As. But if it's not already clear, you should be working with a great coach like Brayden at Breakthrough Academy. And if it doesn't feel clear, you're going to eventually need to use a sales proposal tool like SumoQuote. We would love to be able to meet with you, show you how it can fit in your roofing company and how it can help you grow to that next level. So thank you all so much. We're going to stay on for Q&A. Please feel free to start shuttling any Q&A comments into the chat, and we'll be sticking around. And if you're ready for the after party, if you want to start talking about fly fishing, hunting, I'm into that. and you can get as much time as you want. Brayden, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for coming, just sharing a little bit of your perspective and advice, man.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. And just before I have to jump off, I have a coaching call to get to. I just want to say I regularly send people to SumoQuote just because it actually makes my job so much easier. When people are having issues with anything on the sales end, the first thing I ask is, I'm like, what technology are you using? And a lot of times it's not really much. And so anybody that I've sent to SumoQuote that is signed up and used it, it actually makes my life significantly easier in coaching them, because the onboarding is nice and easy. Their proposals get done easier. The sales, the closing ratios go up. We can increase prices, make everything look nicer. So I just want to say thank you, because the people that I send your way actually end up making us look good. So,
hey, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. I mean, we're trying to be, we're trying to be as useful as we can, and we're adding new things all the time to try to help people just close more deals. And working with great partners with you is what it's about, man. So really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Awesome. Hope you guys have a great day.
Awesome, man. Cool. Thanks, Brayden. Yeah, we'll talk to you again.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.
Perfect. So I'm happy to stick around here and keep chatting about things. I'm going to start seeing a few questions pop up as we go, and off we go on kind of Q&A, whatever it is that I can be helpful. So first question I'm seeing here is about RoofSnap. Okay, Abraham, great question. So first off, we integrate with, I don't know, I think like 5-6 different roof measurement tools at this point. We've got direct integrations with EagleView, RoofScope, Hover. Then we have the ability to drag and drop CSV files or measurement files from, like, I think RoofSnap's on there. We're going to be adding GAF Quick Measure down the road, we hope. I think RoofSnap is already on that list of stuff. So we see an increasing amount of people using it. You guys know there's like 100 measurement tools. There are some clear winners, some clear losers. But I would say, like, we're really only integrating with winners. We're really only integrating with the tools that people are having a great experience with, that have a degree of accuracy that's considered considered within the realm of acceptance. And yeah, I mean, we're going to be building as deep of an integration with them as they'll let us. So awesome. And next question, as we are seeing here, I saw another question pop up on here. Gary, can we resend that downloadable info? Of course we can. Yeah, we'll be sharing that link again. I believe that the link, if you just scroll up in here, it's just trybta.com/tech, and hop on in there. That'll be great. What do you mean you have a direct integration to Hover? We use the JSON upload. Do you have something more? BP, that is a great question. So we haven't publicly announced it yet, but we have built a direct integration with Hover. So it allows you to search for and pull in Hover reports directly into a project in SumoQuote, apply those to your measurement tokens, and then create a quote based on all of those accurate measurement components. So that is done. If you click under integrations and you pop in your account to integrations, scroll down, you'll see that there is Hover in there. And this is new. Haven't fully announced it yet. If you go to our documentation, which is our support and tutorials page, docs.sumoquote.com, it is listed in there as one of our integrations with full walkthroughs. Oh, and hello to John. Full walkthroughs of how it is that you can set it up, all the parameters of that integration. It's currently live, but we'll be announcing it here in the next couple of weeks here as we get our act together. But our product team, no surprise, is a little ahead of us on the sales and marketing side. They are, we're fired up about that. So yes, this is very much the insider scoop. You can tell that this is internal conversations that we have at SumoQuote that just leaks out when you get put in a live context. But yes, it is something that's currently available. So that's awesome. Yeah, it's great to hear from John. John with Marathon is just a total beauty. Awesome. Question around assigning those map tokens to hover fields. So some of that is going to be done automatically for you. We do have standardized token fields that this will cross over, especially say on the roofing side. However, one of the big benefits with hover is that we're going to get accurate siding measurements as well. And so those are going to be something that I believe in our documentation, we actually have a little bit of a legend on what the names of those tokens need to be in SumoQuote for hover to be able to pull directly into those. So yes, you do need to map those tokens from hover fields. They're going to be mostly done for you, but it is worth going to that support documentation page to learn a little bit more. For anybody on here who's not currently a SumoQuote customer, or if you are, every SumoQuote customer gets a dedicated account manager that you can book one-on-one video calls with to walk through these things together. Okay. So if you're like, hey, I'm interested in hover and I want to set that up, I'm interested in integrating SumoQuote with Job Nimbus. We can help set that up and connect that. We can walk you through the breadth of that integration. If you're looking at some of like this growth plan, you'll notice that QuickBooks Online is listed in every phase of business that we talked about. We've got an amazing direct integration with QuickBooks Online. So for even those businesses that are really just trying to level up, some of those foundational integrations like QuickBooks Online, maybe pulling in photos from Company Cam so that those can really beef up and customize those proposals for you. We've got some of those core integrations so that you can keep going, and then as you grow, you can start pulling in different CRMs, measurement tools. We're trying to be able to make it as flexible as possible so that you can use whatever tools you want. Cool. Question from Connie here. Is Company Cam the only way to pull pictures in? Absolutely not. So we've got a mobile app that works as a web app just in your browser. So you can take photos on your phone or iPad, pull them directly into your quotes. We also, through our integration with Job Nimbus, we allow for photos to come in from Job Nimbus as well if you're using their photo app. RoofLink, a brand new integration that we've added, it has photo integration as well. It is our best direct integration, hands down. In addition, our integration with Hover also has photo integration as well. So for those of you who are big Hover users, you are going to love it. It allows you to create quotes directly from Hover project addresses, and then you can pull in photos and things like that as well. I know that Hover has some incredible visualization tools that allow you to be able to have beautiful visualizers. We're still exploring how we can leverage that to perhaps use some of those visualizations in your proposals to really help tell a better story, a little more compelling sales story with your customers. I don't have any information on that right now, but I know that that's kind of the direction that we're going to be going. Cool. Anyone else have any other questions about, tech, anything to recommend? Anybody who've got any sort of challenges that they're running into that they'd like to have a little bit of advice or perspective on, I'm more than happy to be as frank, direct, or political as need be. But yeah, overall, hopefully that this has been very useful. In the coming weeks here, we're going to be pulling in. We're going to be sending out invites to what is going to be an upcoming SumoQuote event. So we're going to be launching, if any of you have heard of our Sumo Summit, which is our big annual event. We're going to be announcing another one of those coming up this late fall into the early winter. And we are going to have several conversations where we're going to go very deep on, maybe integrations for enterprise context. Perhaps we're going to start having some of these consultants that we recommend that people work with their roofing company to build deeper and deeper integrations. Big shout out to Roofing Business Partner. They're remarkable at what they do. We are excited to be able to showcase some of that. But keep your eyes out. If you've registered to this, we are going to start sending out invites for a longer full day event to go deeper on all of this. Really excited to be able to include Breakthrough Academy, some of their brilliant coaches, and some of their systematic approaches to things. And if you're hungry to be able to learn more, we're going to be doing more about that. I haven't heard any comments about fishing or fly fishing questions, which is fine. Currently, the only question is my team giving me a hard time about the smartest fish being goldfish crackers. Bunch of dirty jerks. Just no respect for fly fishing as a whole, or trout. But I think unless somebody's got anything remaining, we'll call her there. So thank you all so much for your time. Thanks for taking some interest in investing in yourself and trying to be able to level up your own understanding, level up your own business. And hopefully this has been helpful as we start trying to navigate the complexity of how is it you sort technology companies in the way that they work as a roofing contractor. What a strange thing that's kind of the world that we're in. But you know what? It's a real gift to be able to work with contractors. We love who we work with. We're thrilled to be able to try to be as supportive to your growth as possible. So thanks again for your time. Look forward to connecting with all of you more down the road.